Welcome back to Checkmate with Blake. Today I have another opening video for you all. Today we're going to be talking about the London system. If you're not familiar with the London system, it's played at pretty much all ELOs, right? From beginner to intermediate to grandmaster ELO. And what's so special about the London system? System is the key word here. So if you're someone who doesn't enjoy learning a ton of theory and a ton of deep lines, you don't want to memorize a ton of stuff. Let's say you're a beginner and you just want something that's solid that you can play pretty much against any response to the London. Pretty much any response, you can play your moves over and over again. You're gonna get the same positions. You're gonna get a position that you're comfortable with, that's great, that has attacking chances, and is super strong positionally. So the reason the London system often gets a lot of hate is simply because it is so powerful. Okay, because even if you're playing intermediate grandmaster level or whatever you're playing at, like for example, I'm actually going to show you all some of my favorite lines against the London system, and I'll show you why it's still super challenging to play against the London, because even with the lines I play, even with the lines I recommend, I still get positions that are very difficult to play because the London is just so strong and it's so solid. So without any further ado, we'll jump into the video. Again, this is a system opening, so you can play this at pretty much any elo. It doesn't matter, and again, it's any response, you're going to have a great position. So if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps a lot. We're growing slowly, but it really helps a lot to kind of grow the community that we have. And again, my purpose is to kind of create content that you guys like and create content that helps you all improve your elo. So if you want to see specific content, leave that in the comment section. I'll make videos for you guys. Without any further ado, though, we'll jump into it. The London starts with this move d4, d5. And here the move I recommend is actually this bishop f4. And the reason I recommend this, which is technically the accelerated London system, is because if you're playing this with black, especially if you're a beginner, what do you play here? So again, if you're an intermediate, you may know, I'm just going to play my London setup. But if you're a beginner, look at this position. What do you play for black? The move that makes a lot of sense would actually be this move knight c6, attacking the center, but this is wrong. This is why that I recommend playing bishop f4 first, is because you already made a mistake on move 2. Because what you're going to do is white's going to go ahead and continue their development, and they're actually going to end up playing the Jobava London, which I'm not going to talk about the Jobava today. If you want to see the Jobava, let me know in the comment section. I'll make a Jobava London video. But this shows why this move knight c3, which looks so, or knight c6 looks so natural, is wrong. Because now notice they're going to play this setup, and they're going to go after this f7 pawn, and black's going to have a lot of difficulties in this position, which is why I recommend starting with the move bishop f4, because you kind of induce black into making a mistake. So, but what we're going to talk about today and the lines I recommend is the London system. So the London has to start. You need to play this really need to play this move knight f6. Of course, there's other options, but knight f6 is what I recommend if you're playing black. And we'll go ahead and flip the board again. You go ahead and play this move knight f3, and you're going to complete your development. So after this move e6, you just play this move e3. This is the London system. You're going to play this pretty much against everything. Pretty much no matter what black plays, you're going to go ahead and play these moves, and you're going to win a lot of games like this. So now black is going to play this move c5, because what they're doing behind c5 is challenging your center. So they're trying to break this center open. You have very strong control over this e5 square, so they're trying to go ahead and weaken your control over the e5 square. You just play this move c3, and you solidify your development. So now you have a very solid position. If they take, of course, you could just capture back. You could look at which way you want to capture, but you have a very, very solid position. Now here, the move that black generally plays is bishop d6, because they're trying to challenge this bishop. This bishop is super powerful. They need to try and get rid of it, so they challenge the bishop immediately, which is the correct way to play. Now here, I'm going to give you guys two options that you can play. So the two options are bishop g3 and knight b to d7. So knight b to d2. So what's the reason behind bishop g3? Bishop g3 is the move I recommend. Bishop g3 is what I play if I'm playing this position. And behind bishop g3, you might be looking at this and say, why in the world would we allow black to capture our bishop and double our pawns? Well, the idea being is that when they double the pawns, and yes, doubled pawns are a weakness, but doubled pawns also allow attacking opportunities, especially when the doubled pawns are on the H file or the A file. So if you can if you can cause someone to double your pawn so that you can get these open files, it's actually generally in your favor. So let's say like they castle. Notice now we have a huge attack looking at this square. Also, maybe later on we can bring in our knight, bring in our queen, and we're going to completely crush. So again, do your own research onto this, but I recommend actually going bishop g3 and allowing them to double your pawns. Although a strong player won't always do it, because a strong player will know, well, yes, I could double his pawns, but the attack he's going to have on this H file is going to be so strong, so they won't do it. So sometimes you'll find moves like Queen C7. Again, do your own research into this. You could probably just continue your development the same way. You're going to have a great position, bring your bishop out. You're going to have a great attacking game. And they're never, a strong player is never really going to take this to allow this H file to open. Of course, even playing black, I've oftentimes decided I'm going to take here, for example, and play these moves like H6. Not in this exact position, but H6 to kind of weaken it. But even still, just know this is a super, super strong attack. Just to point out, like in this exact position, you have this move already. Of course, this move does nothing at the moment, but I'm just trying to point out how this pin can also help you too. So even if they play this move H6, you have a very strong position. But going back, let's say that they still play this move and we don't play. So here's the other alternative that I recommend is this move Knight BD2. The engine does actually recommend prior to play this check here with your bishop, but I don't recommend it because I'd rather your bishop be here on D3, which is more typical in the London. So here, the best move for black is simply to castle, because obviously they could take here. So I'll just go back and show that. If they take, well, you're actually going to have an outpost here. So you're going to get this knight here, and you're going to get this knight here, which again is one of the strengths of the London, is that you're going to have great control over this E5 square, where you can put a knight in there and then bring your other knight to support it. So like, let's just say a random move. Obviously, these aren't the perfect lines, but let's say that they go ahead and challenge your center. Well, now if they ever take, you still have this super strong knight in the center of the board. Just to point out. And of course, in this exact position, it may be a little different because you may want to consider taking with the pawn to go ahead and have the super strong pawn chain. But the London is super solid, and you're going to have these very, very solid positions. But we're going to go back because obviously I want to show you what happens if they castle too. So if they castle here, now already you can play this move knight e5. And for example, after queen c7, which is generally actually what I play to try and challenge this knight and challenge your center if I'm playing black. Well, you have some ideas here as well. You could always just put this knight here in the center and then just further solidify your structure. But the best move is bishop d3, and it kind of sets a trap here, which is a first point in the video where I'm going to show some of these serious traps. So after the move like knight c6, again, you can just go ahead and put your knight here. It's super, super solid. And what do you play if you're playing black? So if you know, regardless of your elo, pause the video, try and figure out what do you play here when you're playing black, because this is why the London's super powerful. And this exact position is why I struggle to play against the London, why everyone struggles to play against the London, because it's not clear. You would love to remove this knight, right? You would love to have better control over the center, and you would love to, eliminate some of these attacks that are just looking straight at your king. So the move that makes a lot of sense, which is completely losing, is actually to play this move knight d7. And I've played this. I've made these mistakes before. I've played this exact error. And actually, just to know how to play against it, you need to play this sneaky move knight g5. Knight g5 actually is looking at this pawn, and you're threatening some scary tactics. For example, you're walking right into a fork. So if black decides, well, I'm going to go ahead and play this fork, notice it's a blunder and it's game over because you take with check. Only move is to go here to king h8, and you have this really nice checkmate with the knight, because obviously this knight covers the bishop. So it's just an amazing line. Okay, let's consider some other options. What else can they play here? So maybe they understand these threats and they play the move g6. You sacrifice the knight again. It's a brilliant move. You're gonna actually have two brilliant moves in this line. I'll go ahead and show them. So after they capture back, you take with the queen, and here it's not clear either, because after king g7, well, you throw in this check here. Where do they go to? Obviously their only square is, well, if they go here, you have checkmate. Okay, so they can't go there. So let's say they go back to g8. You sacrifice another piece. Wait for it to show it. It's another brilliant move, because after they capture back here, you actually have a forced checkmate here. So let's look at some other alternatives after knight g5. So, they could try, for example, to take with the bishop. It's another mistake. You simply give this check again, and after here you go back to c2, bishop c2, because now their bishop is hanging, right? It's hanging by a pawn, but if they capture, well, you have another forced checkmate. So there's 3 forced checkmates if they decide to play this move, bringing this knight back to challenge the center. So they can't do that. So how could they remove... How can they remove this defender? How can they get rid of this e5 square that has just so many great pieces supporting it? If they try this move knight h5, you throw in this check. This is the Greek gift sacrifice. Another brilliant move. So that's 3 brilliant moves so far. After they capture back, you give this check. Only move is to go forward or back. Let's say they go back here. It doesn't matter. You have another mate threat. For example, after they try to save their rook here, and create some breathing room actually for their king to go through, you actually take this. It looks counterintuitive, but you take this. There's a very specific reason. After you capture, you're actually going to take here now, and after they take, notice now you play this check, and you go ahead and win. This is a checkmate here. So, I mean, of course, they can block with the queen, but it's a checkmate. And those were actually the best moves. So, I mean, you know, again, if you don't believe me, put it in engine, do your own research on it. But these are the best moves. I mean, after you take, these are all pretty. This is a forced line. I mean, it's mate in 4. It's a forced line. All right, so let's go back. All right, so going back, because now that I've shown basically the traditional setup, for example, something like this, I've shown the traditional setup, and after they go here trying to challenge, again, you recommend the move G3, but as I said in the video, pretty much the purpose of the London is to get a setup like this, put your knight there, and after they challenge it, not there, after they challenge here, just getting a very, very solid position. So this is the biggest advantage of the London, is that if you can complete this development, which most of the time you will because it's a system opening and it's very easy to play, well, then you're going to have a super strong attacking game. And if you just pause and you say, well, why is this so strong? Okay, because all of your pieces are looking at the king side. And what can black do? As I said, they cannot really remove this defender very well. So it's super challenging. You know, again, let's look at the top engine moves. So A5 being in the top engine move, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A5 is actually the best move in 2 different lines. But for example, the actual best move is knight E7, and it's just super challenging because you're wasting. You know, it feels like you're just like running around here playing black, trying to create some space, like you're being suffocated on these back ranks here. Meanwhile, white has a ton of space, has a great solid position, is going to castle, bring the rooks out, and they're going to play a very, very good game. So let's go back and say, show some other lines in the London. So, for example, after this move, a lot of players will try this line B6. It says it's an inaccuracy, but this is actually pretty common that people play it. B6 is just something you need to be prepared against. So you can pretty much just play the same way. So you can play this knight out the same exact way after they play this move, bishop b7. Again, we'll look at some of these top lines. I want to give you guys some ideas of what you can play. Notice it did for a brief second say knight e5 was even playable, so you could even play knight e5. But for example, after this check and blocking with c6 or knight c6, which most of the time they're going to play, right? It says it's a mistake, but most of the time they're going to play it. So most of their moves are actually very confusing. Queen a4 already makes a lot of sense, adding pressure to this piece. You don't even have to play that exact check, though. There's ideas you can play, like, for example, let's say knight e5 and knight c6. Now you can play this bishop e5 check or pin. So notice, you know, that now you have a ton of pressure. Let's just say queen c8. Again, now you're actually going to win a piece in this line because you have complete coverage over over this square here. But those are just, I'm not going to get super in depth with these ideas, but what I want you all to know is you actually have this move queen e2. So let's just say that you develop normally. You're just playing your standard lines, knight c6, queen e2. Yeah, you'll notice now is actually the second top engine move. Queen e2 is actually the line I want you to play in this, because the idea is if they play b6, just to kind of summarize b6, because again, you're learning the London, you don't need to memorize all these lines. I just want you to understand the ideas behind it, right? So the old setup that I showed you, where they had the bishop here and the queen here, you're trying to get this knight here and this knight here and this strong center. In this setup against b6, you're fighting for the e4 square. So let's say they just continue their development, bishop e7, let's say castles. What you're fighting for ultimately is this e4 square. And if you could push it, for example, not in this exact position because there's a little bit of difficulty, you know, with your center here. But if you could fight for this this e4 square and maybe even push to e5, like let's just say black plays a random move. I just want to illustrate this. Notice how strong your position is, right? Because let's say after the bishop or the knight moves, look at all these pieces just looking right at the king side. I mean, of course, you're going to crush your opponent if they're playing this b6 line and not fighting for the center perfectly. So I won't go super in depth with these lines, just because you won't actually face b6 all that common. I just want you to know how to play against it. And here I'm going to show you guys. Sorry, we got to go back just one move because again they played that initial error. So I'm actually going to show you one of my personal lines too. I have 2 weapons I play against the London. One that I showed you, which was just that line where you're being suffocated and you're trying to fight for the center. Believe it or not, that's the line I play against it. But another line that I do play after against the London is actually after c5 and after this move c3. The move I actually play a lot of times is this move queen b6. And queen b6 looks challenging, right? Because I'm attacking this this pawn here. And for example, if they were to ever capture here, it's really not a concern. First of all, we could capture here already. So here's the reason I play queen b6 is because this is a line that's, you know, kind of does help refute the London a little. However, what I'm going to show you playing for white, how you can refute this, how you can refute someone trying to play this line specifically against the London. So you can actually play this move Queen B3. And as I said earlier, the reason that you play Queen B3 is if they were to capture, you have this open H file. Notice the eval bar going way up because this again is an advantage for you. This open H file, because before, let's look at what we had before. Before our rook was doing nothing and their queen was attacking the square. Now our rook is amazing and their queen is gone. Also, we're going to use our pieces to attack this square and to simply play through it. So we want them to trade. So you play Queen B3 and you say, I hope you take my piece. I hope you take my queen and double my pawns because I know that this H file and A file, both of them opening the rooks, is so great for me. But of course, most of the time they're not going to take it and they're going to play knight c6. If I were playing, I would not take it. I would play knight c6. Now I recommend this move knight b to d2 simply because now you're even more baiting them to take it. Because now they're thinking, okay, I need to take this knight. I need to take this queen because now his knight just covers it. There's no more doubled pawns. We'll go ahead and get rid of it. And here again, the best move is to take with the pawn. So this is kind of just a bait. It's kind of just finishing your development and kind of baiting them to take it even further. But a lot of players here, again, if I were playing black, I would not take this queen. Instead, I might consider a move like c4. And the move I want you to know is queen c2. You have to play queen c2. Queen c2 is the only move. If you try to go forward, you're just going to get chased away. They're going to develop their bishop here, and they're going to attack your queen. You have to play queen c2. And you might look at them and say, well, why in the world would I go through this line with white? Well, let's just pause and look at it, okay? So first of all, this move b3 at some point in the game is going to help, and you're going to open up this square here. Of course, your queen is also looking at this square over here. So after they, for example, castle, you're going to have great attacks. Let's just say random moves here. Of course, you're looking here, and once this knight jumps in, you're going to have attacks of your own. Also, their queen is actually not doing that much here. So I mean, yes, it's looking at this pawn again. This is the line I play, so of course I wouldn't play queen b6 if I didn't think that queen b6 was a good line to play. But queen b6, it does attack this, but also notice what does it do? It stops us from playing this move bishop d6 that we want to play, right? Because we want to challenge their bishop, but now we can't because our knight's here. And again, knight c6 was the best move in that position. So queen b6 is a challenging move, but again, I just recommend if you're playing white, challenge the queen after they push it away, which most time they will, although it did say it was a good move, not the best. Most time they will push it away and you'll play queen c2 and you have a perfectly solid game. I mean, which position would you rather play if you just pause the video and look at it? I would rather play white any day of the week because the development is just much better. Your bishop is out and it's past the pawn versus let's say this bishop is locked in, and this bishop, although it's more free, well, it can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. It's only two options. It can't even go here because notice the queen doesn't cover it. So they have to play this move bishop e7 if you're trying to develop your bishop. So obviously white has a super strong position here that is just completely crushing. So those are all the relevant lines that you're going to face. If you guys want to see the Jobava London or any other opening, feel free to let me know. I'll make a video on that as well. I hope you guys found this content pretty enjoyable. Again, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. It means so much to me. Thank you guys so much for your support.